she had put in more, even though the rich put in gobs of money. Um, they were still getting richer. But the poor widow, she didn't know where her next meal was coming from. So, yeah, in the sight of God, her money was worth a lot more. God calls on even the poor to tithe. You don't want to miss out on that blessing. And plus, like written in the book of Malachi, you sure as hell don't want to rob God. I mean, it breaks that cheapskate spirit. It does all so many good things. It's not like God needs our money, but it shows us that we love Him and we love people, humanity, more than we love money. The satanic food, the ambrosia of Satan and his minions. Witting or not, I mean, that's it, man. If they don't know, if they're just deceived and deluded, they're on that broad path to destruction, man. It's a sad state of affairs, and God needs a lot of help. He needs a lot of soldiers in this good fight. Those whom dehumanize others for any reason only serve to dehumanize themselves. Volunteers and the spirit of volunteerism is a most beautiful element of humanity. Unconditional benevolence, selflessness, and a spirit of idealism, an altruistic expression of genuine love. Having said that, I ask, in this current money-based reality, are not volunteers the most nightmarish scabs possible? Not only will they perform other person's job for less, they will do it for free. Why do we continue upon this path of misery and madness? Who says we must? Can we say no? And I suggest we're going to have to, man. I mean, it's going to come down to our very survival to get it, to simply get what has happened to us and who did this to us. Where it's all emanating from on a local level, it's coming from on top. So I'm not going to go fight at city council meetings. Hell no, I'm not. No. No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with people that do for little local issues, I suppose. But, you know, when it comes to fixing things permanently and ending the desperate poverty, okay, which is the core root cause of all the vast majority, at least, of all the crime in your area, so the lack of safety, okay, you see, we're in it so deep, but the root is at the top. It's the money printing class. Okay, that's it. And the politicians that rubber stamp whatever they say. It's at the mouth of the beast, and they say, whatever you say, masters, our masters, we know it's not the people. That's a facade. We pretend that we are beholden to the people and give a crap what they say. But when the chips are down, we'll go with the critical mass, even if it's a 1/millionth of 1/millionth percent. Okay? Yeah, 1/millionth percent. That's a real number. As tough as it is being human, it's still the best gig going by far. After all, what are the alternatives? Yeah, so as tough as it gets, folks, carry on. I encourage everybody, just contend as best you can. Turn to God for help to stand one day at a time. And just know that, you hunger and thirst for righteousness, you're the one that's going to be filled. The others are going to go away hungry, that have just lived a lavish lifestyle. Okay, they're the ones that are going to end up going hungry. Universal absolute freedom is the only solution I can imagine to end the insufferingly disturbing dichotomy humans face by being coerced, forced into conflating how they choose to serve their fellow humans and obtaining money, thereby forcing us to serve two masters, an untenable paradigm, as Jesus pointed out. We cannot serve both God, good and evil, yet we do by serving the satanic money masters. That's what I mean. None of us get an exemption form, an opt-out, a waiver. We all are forced, okay, by law, by survival, the law of the jungle. If you want to continue to exist, you've got to pay a cost of living. There's just no way. I mean, you could be tricky and find out how, say, well, I'm going to find the easy way out, or I'm going to just I'm just going to accept the difficultest ways and just say, you know what, that's it. I just want a lowly position. I just want to survive, and that's it. But whatever it is, you have to comply. I have to comply. So they force us to feed the beast right now. That's the way it is. So unless we're born into an entirely different paradigm, which is a huge departure from this one, with a basic understanding that this earth belongs to everybody because it's a thus saith the Lord thing. We all have a right to ask, whose planet is this anyhow? Is it right that it just belongs to these people that have inherited this hereditary wealth that's passed on generation to generation? Rothschilds, for example, Rockefellers, and on with these huge dynasties. No. What did their kids do to deserve it any more than you or I or our children? Nothing. So let's just conform to what God says, okay, when it comes to setting the captives free. And they are, if you're not set financially free, then you're a captive. You're not free. You're forced onto the ship of fools, kicking and screaming maybe, just like me, but here we are. So we got to make the best of it. But, in my heart and mind, I jumped off the ship a long time ago. And I'm cultivating, what it's going to be like to live in the world of tomorrow, which I really, really, really want. Okay, and you should really, really, really want. That's being zealous for God's will to be established upon the earth once and for all, permanently. End of story. That's all coming up roses for the righteous, man. Cannot is a very subjective term. For example, a parent tells a child, you cannot do this or that. Yet the child goes on to do the things they supposedly cannot do. Kind of like Jesus telling the world, you cannot serve God and mammon. Money, that is. And yet we all do. At least we should admit it, and then admit the profound, nightmarish havoc serving money, which is a false god, has besieged the human race has besieged humanity for thousands of years, and then try to defend the status quo. You can't. You can't defend the status quo in light of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. No way. Quite simply, the lower your cost of living, the more free you are. Therefore, in order to reach true, absolute 100% freedom, we must bring our cost of living down to zero. For one to be truly free, one must be absolutely, utterly, and unconditionally free. You see how the fact that we are born beholden to the money masters, you see how that's a problem when it comes to our freedom? Initially, money was sold to the public as a refined, simpler, advanced method of barter, but nothing could be further from the truth. The fact is that money was invented as a very effective method of stealing the wealth of the working class, archaically known as oppression, but still a very relevant term. It's exactly what it is, my friends. It's overt theft. What do you think? How do you think that they oppress people? They steal from you. They keep you down. They repress you. They don't let you get up. They don't let you enter the realms, the halls of prosperity. Even just a middle-class life, they make that but a pipe dream for people. And they've done that very successfully in California. And it's spreading like a cancer, like a disease across the nation and the planet by extension. Yeah, I'm very ashamed of that. But at least I know it's not my fault, and I've been speaking out against it my entire life, as far back as I can remember, thank God. Automatically, we tend to think of our boss, our employer, our master, including myself. But I ask, wouldn't it be more apropos to think of those to whom our energy in the form of money goes? Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's all that we have to give, all that people have to give. This is the point I'm trying to make, is their energies. And so whoever we're serving, our masters, our boss, our employers, that's that's where those are our masters. I've got to learn to edit my writing better because I know I didn't make my point very well there, but so I'm just going to move along, my friends. I apologize if my need to be true to myself offends anyone. That is not my intention. Though I cannot not love each and every human being. That is all of humanity. For that is what I am, a human, one being that is a part of the family of humanity. In a nutshell, the status quo blows. The thing that makes America great is a spirit of freedom at all costs. Self-determination exemplified. It is our internationally appointed destiny to be frontline soldiers in the good fight, the fight for things like true, absolute freedom through prosperity, security, contentment, just a few of the ingredients for our overall happiness. People all over the world embrace the precepts of the American spirit. That the American spirit is built upon. Do we ever step up? Do we ever stop to thank God for those little things? You know, like a good meal, that we don't have a headache, that we don't have a stomach ache, or maybe a refreshing drink, a friend, or a good bowel movement, or maybe a satisfying orgasm. If not, it seems that we ought to. All those little blessings that God gives us every day just in giving us existence. You know, and all those bad things that didn't happen to us today. It's remarkable. All the hope we all have. All the comfort and encouragement we have by turning to Him. We have so many blessings every day. That, I'm very happy to be alive, to exist. I really am. While I firmly believe we have an unequivocal right to be accidentally wrong, I do not believe we have an entitlement to be deliberately wrong, for that is ungodly. That's a form of deception. That's what I'm talking about. To know you're wrong and to spread lies is deceiving others. And, that's a one-way ticket to hell, to be sure, man. Some say rising wages are a good sign, a good thing. However, I suggest rising cost for labor, just like rising costs for commodities, particularly essential human needs, i.e. the cost of living or existing, are a bad thing. Why? Because rising costs for goods and services indicate anti-capitalistic forces, failed economic policies, and a lack of true progress in creating a rising tide of prosperity across the board. Yeah, you heard me right. I'm actually for seeing wages go down. That's right. Yeah, so don't try to tell me the only answer is, oh, that's good when wages... No, that's just an indication. That's a symptom that it's a failed economic situation. It's not capitalism because, like I pointed out, wages could be 10 cents an hour, but compared to $1 an hour 50 years ago, could be worth $2 an hour. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's capitalism, my friends. That's what you want to see. No, you need the cost for services to go down too. This is a two-way street. The only reason I say that the cost of living should be tied into the minimum wage, otherwise you're giving people persistent, perpetual pay decreases. And yes, I'm opposed to you keep lowering people's pay. Yeah. Well, how can that end well? Or how come I'm the only one? I'm flapping in the wind, friends. Help me. Help me. Get on Alex Jones. Get on everybody about this. Point this madness out to people. What is true capitalism? Let's define it. Let's define progress relative to it. And let's define regression relative to true capitalism. Yes, we've got regression for decades upon decades since they murdered JFK to get their sick way, their perverted way, their ungodly way with the masses, and keep stealing our wealth through currency debasement by raising our cost of living tax, our cost of existing tax. If the world was handed to you on a silver platter from day one, from birth, it would be not only anti-instinctual and unnatural or even ungodly for anyone not to feel compelled to somehow reciprocate such wanton and vast generosity. Yeah, you'd have to go against your very instincts for you to not to want to use your God-given talents to serve your fellow human being to some capacity if the world was handed to you on a silver platter through stocks, through shares. Okay? That's it, man. It is your planet. All the resources, all Mother Earth's goodies, they belong to you rightfully. And that's all the accumulated wealth over the